Hello again, everyone. Kata Kosman, publisher of Madison's Lumber Reporter. This is part 2 of the video that I posted previously. So if you haven't seen that yet, do take a moment to go back by one video and have a look at that. It's my usual updates of softwood lumber market prices, what is going on with supply and demand, inventories, all of these important things for the lumber manufacturing industry and for the buyers of wood. Madison's is a price guide which was started in 1952 in Vancouver by Peter Madison. I'm the third owner. We track 500 individual softwood lumber and panel commodity prices every Friday. And this is data from all across North America. So Western spruce, Eastern spruce, Southern pine, Engelmann spruce, ponderosa pine, Douglas fir, cedar, all of the different softwood lumber items that are used in housing construction, okay? And so, as I was saying in my previous video, the benchmark Western spruce pine fir KD 2x4 number 2 and better price did pass the bottom in July of this year when it was US $330 per thousand board feet. It is now 406. Okay, and so throughout this year, if you're a regular viewer, you will have heard me say, you know, we need to see what is the bottom. And this is in comparison to last year in March, the bottom was 332. Okay, so this lets us know what is the lowest amount that the sawmills are able to sell wood for without taking a complete loss. And we're above that right now, and it is past Labor Day. And normally, Labor Day, you know, historically, is sort of the beginning of the slowdown. We have an adage that we say here at Madison's, Labor Day is the beginning of the end, US Thanksgiving is the end of the end. By then, winter is on, not a lot of new homes are started, you know, in October, November, December, maybe even in January. Not necessarily has been the case recently. Seasonality seems to be not as much in play as it was in the past. And also there's a lot of other factors, as people know, disruption to society, changes to supply chain, changes to the way we work, all that kind of stuff has made what we traditionally were able to say, this is when the price is the highest, this is when the price is the lowest, not necessarily the case. However, being now into the second week of September, we can take a look at the year, compare it to last year and the previous years, and get an idea of where are we and what does that mean for the future. Also, because Madison's data is published every week for that week. So when we do our update overnight on Thursday that my customers log into the dashboard to see what the new prices are and what the new market commentary is, that is for that week. The other data, the timber harvest data, the log export or import, lumber export or import is on quite a lag. So what we have right now is January to July, which is quite a good capture of the year. That's usually the bulk of the activity because, as I said, definitely September, but also in August, things are starting to slow down. Even though there is still home building going on, those builders have already ordered their wood, right? It takes 6 weeks at least, if not 2 months or longer, for delivery. Okay, and if the inventory, if the market is very tight the way it is right now, and there is not available wood with the secondary suppliers, the wholesalers and the reloads, and they have to order from the mill to get what their customer just asked for, it's very easy for that amount of time to increase because not only must the customer wait for delivery, but they actually have to wait for that wood to get manufactured as well. So further to that, one of the ways to measure what is that delay to manufacturing is the sawmill order file. And so when times are busy and there is a lot of demand, let's say February, March, April, usually, a sawmill order file might be like 6 weeks, which means if someone were to call a mill and ask for some wood, it will not get put on the line to be made for 6 weeks, okay? When things are soft and the market is slow, let's say 2 weeks before the holiday season, a sawmill order file might be 3 days, or it might be prompt. The mill might put that wood online that day, all right? So that gives you an idea of what it means when lumber prices go up and down, because it's a very easy way for a mill to know how busy they are and what kind of demand they can expect that they know that they're having for the next month or two, okay? So currently, the sources that we get, that we talk to on Thursdays are telling us that their order file is 2 weeks, but I'm not quite sure if that's a full 2 weeks. As people know, we are going through a lot of announcements of curtailments and downtime. A lot of sawmills are going through 2-week curtailment, slowdown, 5-week, depending. And again, do have a look at my previous video because I got into those details of how much volume of wood has been taken offline so far this year to let you know where the market is at. And so when the mills are saying right now that they have a 2-week order file, I'm kind of thinking that's like 2 weeks at slower manufacturing than normal, right? What I said in my previous video, and this is data that we get from the Western Wood Products Association. They're based in Portland, Oregon. They're very, very good. They have a newsletter, it's called Lumber Track, and the sawmill capacity utilization rates in Canada, even though it's up from last year, is still only 63%. So there is a lot of room at the mills for volume of wood to be made that is right now idle, that is right now not being made, okay? And so for other data, which is very important to know what the situation is for the mills, is things like the timber harvest and log supply, okay? And so what I said in my last video and how it has been for probably a couple years, even though demand is slower and the market is soft, the mills are well stocked with logs. So there's plenty of logs at the mills. That investment has been made. This is a cost to the sawmills. They have logs in their yard ready for when demand comes that they can run those logs and make lumber. So in addition to this sort of anecdotal, this is the information that we get from our mill, from our sources that we talk to every week, we have the lumber manufacturing volumes. So in Canada, for the first 6 months of this year, it's 25 billion cubic meters, which is up slightly, as you can see, 4.6% compared to January to June last year when it was 24 billion. The full year of 2023 was 47.5 billion cubic meters, and the full year of 2022 was 50.5 billion cubic meters. Because the data in the US comes out as values, by comparison, you have in Canadian dollars for the first 6 months of this year, 6.5 billion Canadian dollars of softwood lumber sold compared to 6 billion from January to June of last year. You can see that that is up 6.4%. Full year 2023 was Canadian 11 billion and full year 2022 was 16 billion. So as this year goes on and more data comes out, we will continue to be able to compare apples to apples of this year to last year in relation to my lumber prices. Now in the US, there isn't specifically data of just lumber softwood lumber sales. So the closest thing that I can get is lumber and construction material, which will include a few other things, but at least it gives you the idea of what is the trend line. So again, the first 6 months of this year, the amount was US 124 billion compared to January to June 2023 when it was 128.6 billion. Full year 2023 was 220.5 billion. Full year 2022 was 251.5 billion. Now let's compare that to what we would consider the last normal year prior to the changes to society, which was 2019, and at that time it was 161 billion. Okay, so for these next few data sets, we use the HS code, which was standardized globally a few years ago. And so this, when you're looking at Canada and US, is comparing exactly apples to apples. But do keep in mind that the US data is measured in US dollars and the Canadian data is measured in Canadian dollars. So for lumber imports in the US, and now this was updated recently, so it is January to July, 2024 was US $4.117 billion compared to the same time in 2023, $4.08 billion. Full year 2023 was $6.93 billion and 2022 was $11.55 billion. And again, compared to the last normal year, 2019, it was almost $700 billion. So that was US lumber imports from the world. And then here we have Canada, the exact same material, lumber exports to the world. And again, the data was just updated. So we do have July, and we have from January to July of 2024, Canadian $5.24 billion compared to $4.9 billion the same time last year. And for full year 2023, it was Canadian $8.47 billion, but in 2022, it was $13.67 billion. Now, that, of course, is reflecting the high price of the wood. And this is why I prefer to get the volume data, because it doesn't be impacted by what is the price, but not all data sets are available in the exact same definition from the different jurisdictions. Okay, and so then that was very importantly US lumber imports from the world and Canada lumber exports from the world. And then here is US lumber exports to the world. Once again, these are the exact same definitions of HS code, and the US lumber export gives a very good idea of what is happening internally within the US for lumber sales and demand. And we have for January to July of 2024, US $553 million. And for 2023, the first 7 months, US $579 million. So you can see that's down a little bit. But once again, it does depend on what was the price of lumber at that time. For full year 2023, it was $956 million. And for full year 2022, it was $1.14 billion. Which again, in comparison to the last normal year prior to all of the changes to society due to COVID and otherwise, in 2019, that was just over 900 million US dollars. Okay, and so that's lumber US export and import for the first 7 months of this year. And then we also have log exports, US and Canada. So beginning with Canada, we have for the first 7 months of this year, Canadian $235 million in log export, which is slightly down from the first 7 months of last year when it was $236 million. In full year of 2023, it was $387 million, and in full year of 2022, it was $455 million. And just take a note of that big drop in 2020 when the COVID lockdown in Canada was quite severe, and you can see that did have an impact on doing work in the forest and slowed down log sale and export for a little while there during that year. And again, the U.S. log export, similar to the lumber export, does give you a good idea of what is happening domestically within the U.S., both for the timber sale and the lumber manufacturing. And so for the first 7 months of this year, we have U.S. 435 million in log export compared to 493 million in January to July of last year, where full year 2023 was US 787 million and full year 2022 was US 988 million. So what that means, if we can see where we are in a little bit more than halfway through this year compared to last year, we know what happened last year. We know what kind of year it was last year. This is how we can say what we think is going to happen going forward. And at the moment, I'm not going to do that. I will be doing another video in a couple of weeks when September is coming to an end. Then I'll be able to say really what I think. Right now, the buyers and sellers of lumber are still questioning what's going on. The important thing to note is that inventories are very low. There is not wood in the supply chain, which could be a problem if something happens and demand increases suddenly. But like I said, the sawmills are well stocked with logs, so they will be able to bring more manufacturing online quickly enough. Or on the other hand, if things slow down even more and more mills take manufacturing offline and the price stays stagnant. So stay tuned. Click like here so this video will get recommended to other viewers. Subscribe if you haven't already so you'll be notified when we make another video. And if you need more than just the small snapshot that we put on the website, the small pieces that I give here on the YouTube, in the caption is a link. You can fill out a form to get a sample. You will see what are the 500 individual softwood lumber and panel commodity prices that we track and what is the price for that week. And we will also send you a Word file with the commentary. This is all what goes into my dashboard, which my customers see every week, overnight, Thursday and Friday morning, when they log in after the new data has been uploaded. And that explains why the prices are changing.